There are various stages that we go through when we face with a crisis, trauma, a catastrophe, a disaster, and we're going to be taking a look at the basic 5 stages that we experience when we face these situations. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. This is Major Jonathan Kelman, District Officer for the Salvation Army here in Belize. As we conclude our series, 10 Major Minutes this week, we will be focusing on stages of grief and trauma and how we can survive and cope during these times. Our guest is Mrs. Joyce Ellis, who is in charge of the Welcome Resource Center here in Belize. Yeah, so it's good to be here with you, especially on a day like this. Well, today is a holiday, and we're gonna be going through this week talking about coping mechanisms. During this time, I've been doing this series called 10 Major Minutes, where I come on every day and look at ways that we can think alternative thoughts during the COVID. Because I realized that when I was going all over the city, people, and even out in the country, the districts, people would just be talking every day, checking to see what's the latest statistic. You know, the active cases, the recoveries, the deaths. You know, and this was just the main topic of people all the time, and I said, well, boy. And then when we had the second wave, it got more intense, and I said, well, every day, if we just keep thinking about this thing all the time, I mean, it is right that we need to be social distancing, we need to wear the mask, we need to be sanitizing, all that stuff we need to be doing. But then when we soak in all this information, well, what outlet is there to release after we psych up ourselves with this? And I noticed that, right, and I noticed that the we call them the frontline workers, you know, everybody was on the street, and then employers wondering how to work with the employees, especially when some of them started to get the virus, no? So so we're looking at it in a kind of broad way. Well, what can we do? And there are like these stages when you go through a trauma. You know about it more than me, really. But so that's why I have you there now to ask, and you can tell us a little about what you do at the Wellness Resource Center.
Well, what I do at the Resource Center, it's all about caring for persons who suffer mental illness, homelessness, and also the elderly, and we also have their deportees. And people might ask, why deportees? The reason why we have deportees is because some of them left the country years ago, and when they return, they are actually homeless. So they also form a part of our population.
Yes. So when I thought about talking to you, I said, well, I would want to know, like, how is the COVID-19 pandemic affecting people in these groups that you deal with, especially? I think that's the first question that we would want to talk about. Like, how are they managing? You know.
So far from what we have seen in the early stage when the diseases first hit the country, it was a state of panic for the population that I serve. However, we assure them that if we do certain things that is asked of us, then it will be okay. But you know, the human side of everyone still have that little panic in them.
Yes.
I must say today, none of our participants has been tested, but none has been showing any signs of a person with symptoms of COVID. Now, for us, that is very much important because At the center, we do practice safety precautions. The only thing is new for us is the social distancing and the wearing of the mask. Everything else was already in place for us.
But it's interesting as you say that all of us trying to safeguard ourselves and so. But the homeless people on the street, I haven't heard about any of them, getting the COVID,
Hence the reason why, Major, when we closed the first time and then we reopened, I said to my staff, when we close again, earlier saying that we only have a few people coming, we can't afford to close our doors because the disease is all about good hygiene, and that's what we provide for the population that I serve. That they need to be clean and at least take a shower once for the day, and if we know if they're at our center for between 6 to 7 hours a day, we know that they're safe. The hand washing is taking place often. If they're not washing their hands, then we have a solution that we spray their hands with. That's the citrus oil with a little bit of water and a little bit of Clorox, and that works for them. And daily we show them the hand washing routine to wash from the elbows down and between the fingers and all of that. So this is something not new to us at the center in terms of how to care for self. Like I said, the problem with us is that the social distancing, because for people who have not visited our center, when you go there, you could see that there are a close group of individuals. So to get them to social distance, you have to always be, remember 3 tiles in between each person, because they're not used to that. They're used to sitting next to each other, having that conversation. They can reach over to a friend, talk to them, touch them. No, that is not allowed at the center at this time. So that's our only difficulty. It has been improving since the social distance is in effect, but it's something that we have to do regular reminder of.
Now let's take it to a broader context. Now when I was reading up on grief and trauma, they say we experience like these 5 stages, and the first one they talk about is the denial, where people can come to grips with the fact that this thing actually happened. Like suppose let's say a loved one pass away, or relationship break up, or this kind of thing. Now if we want to talk about the COVID in that, like the first part, like the denial, I remember when we first started getting lectures from Dr. Manzanera and other people from Ministry of Health. The COVID seemed like something that was far away because we didn't have anything happen. We didn't have any cases in Belize, and it seemed like people were in that denial stage. The thing was happening in the world, but people were not really believing.
At our center, when we started discussing it with the participant, for some reason they had their own theory. There was like, you know what, that won't come here because it's for poor countries, and of course that's denial.
Right.
And you know what, it will only affect people that are a certain level. If they're sick, it affects people that do not do proper hygiene and things like that. That was their little discussion.
Yeah.
And when the first case actually hit in San Pedro, and I must say that it was an elite individual who had the first case, and then we started getting, oh well, they're just people who could travel and mingle again. Denial.
Yeah.
And then the cases that there was a stage when we hadn't any cases, so they were like, oh, okay, see what we said, it was not for us, it's just. And then when it came back with the surge and all of that, then you actually got that aha moment where they said, oh, you know what, this thing is serious, and then they started to acknowledge that it is rarely happening. So after the whole stage of denial, that was a sort of comfort for them, because it wasn't here yet. We were just hearing about it, and then when you hear about the first case, it's someone that they thought that, you know what, oh, that person have money, so they travel around the world, so they eat things like that. So that and it was interesting coming from the population that I serve, that people would say, you know what, these people can't think logical, but if we bring it in the broader context of death, that's some of the things that we go through, that we don't want to believe that it is happening.
Yeah. That like if a person, we hear a person in stage 4 cancer, and we say no, but the person looked healthy to me. The person, is good. How could that suddenly be happening? You know, and I think maybe for some people, and then like if a person going through the dementia or the Alzheimer's, the family start to say, well, what's happened there? They think it's just maybe short-term memory, you know, because they have different theories.
They would say, oh, it's a senior moment, they're getting forgetful. They don't want that diagnosis of Alzheimer's or dementia. Oh, they get forgetful. They even go as far as say, you know what, once a month, twice a child, they don't want a diagnosis that is clinical. So we are always looking for something local that we could associate it with in order to comfort ourselves.
And then, because I'm looking at this in so many different ways, we noticed that also we had some suicides, not just in Belize, but you know, in different parts of the world during these times, but not just during the COVID, but it happens sometimes. And I wonder if sometimes something happened and the person cannot really cope with it. You get into the denial part, and then it just overwhelm them, and they don't know.
And then when the reality hits, they know what. Some people can't cope with reality when they find that whatever issue they're going through is real, or it won't pass as fast as they want it to. Then people choose different ways of coping, and sadly, one of the ways that people choose to cope is suicide, and others use drugs. Others just choose to black out that whole aspect of what is going on, because that in itself is a form of trauma.
So that's the coping mechanism of the actual client, or the, let's say, quote unquote, the victim. I don't really, that's not the right word, but you know what I mean.
In the case of suicide, they're not victims. We try not to refer to them as victims and things like that. Yeah. But in the case of any individual who goes through any sort of situation and they can't deal with it, they find other coping mechanism that's on the individual. But for the caregiver themselves, they have other ways of dealing with it. Again, they say it's not happening, and you know what, this will pass. Maybe, we need a second, third opinion if the case of it's a diagnosis and things like that.
Right. That's going to trigger me to the second segment, but I wanted to suppose I get this kind of traumatic news, not me now, for some other person. How would I know, as a family member or a concerned friend or something, that person is in denial? What can I do to talk to that? Because we talk about how they would feel and what they would do, the negative coping mechanism. But then, if I recognize that this person is in denial, how can I do something or say something to?
In our society here in Belize, there is always in a family there is always the stronger person, the person that could rationalize. So whenever there is an issue going on with any family, there is always, like I said, the person that is strongest. So if something should happen, they would say, you know what? Well, let us call Major. He is the strong person. He will be able to break the news to the entire family in a way that they understand and will be able to cope. And that's one of the way in our Belizean society that we get to cope with death, horrible news, trauma, and so on. They channel their information to the strongest person, and also a person that the family and by extension the society would respect. It doesn't have to be someone that is older than anybody else. It could be the youngest person. That could be that person that you could channel it through. Give them the information, they sit and they talk with the family, and that person could assure them that, you know what, this is the way we're going, and we will all get through it together.
So we finished that first stage, which is denial. We will come with the second stage in the next video, so stand by. But your bite-sized boost for today, quickly. Unknown says, do something today that your future self will thank you for. And another unknown says, the difference between who you are and who you want to be is what you do. See you in the next video.